You know, when a guy disappears on you, it's got to be one of the most annoying things that can happen. I mean, I know myself from having women disappear on me, especially when you're dating, especially if you started off liking this guy and thought, you know what, this guy might be different. And now all you can wonder is, why do guys ghost? Well, that's what we're talking about today. This is Cavallo from datingfire.com. We're going to find out, why do guys ghost? I'm going to give you a ton of reasons. Hey, before we get rolling, do the big three. Make sure you like and subscribe to the videos. These are awesome. This is awesome content. You just got to get more of it. Number two, make sure you turn on the notifications, that little bell indicator next to the subscribe button. And number three, if you have any questions or comments or you want to suggest a video, do that in the comment section below. And don't forget, at the very end, I'm going to give you a little bonus content, so stick around till after the credits roll. You know the situation, right? You've been talking to him for a while, he seems really interested in you, and then all of a sudden, poof, he's gone. No more texts, no more calls. He disappears off the face of the planet. And as it turns out, there are reasons why a guy does this, and I'm going to reveal some of them here. But you need to sit down and prepare yourself for the truth. The truth is my specialty, and I don't shy away from it. That's why women come to me, for the real answers why they don't have the relationship they want or that they deserve. One of the ugly truths is, well, you've probably been ghosted yourself, but you've also ghosted guys yourself, haven't you? Yes, everybody's done this in some way or another before. Even before there was texting, I'm sure people have been ghosting. I'm fairly sure there was a caveman named Gorg that left his cave one day and never came back. The reason that getting ghosted feels so hurtful is that you'd started to awaken your own hope and desire for this guy, and now you feel abandoned and hurt. It can awaken a bunch of abandonment issues in you, as well as other feelings of insecurity. Bottom line, it ain't pretty. Look, I'm not going to apologize for men's bad behavior. There are plenty of bad actors out there for sure, but they are not in the majority. And as we know, blaming is not always the truth. In fact, it rarely is. If you believe that men are simply inconsiderate, you're going to overlook the real reason why this ghosting happens, and it's going to keep happening to you. So let's get into it. Why he ghosts you, reason number one, he found someone else. Look, we might as well get the tough one out of the way right off the bat. Most often, a man will try to date as many women as he possibly can at one time, and then he picks the one that matches him the best. Any other women that he may have been encountering or dating in that time, he just lets them go. He stops talking to them, texting them, calling them, all that stuff. It's not that he's actively disrespecting you. That's not what he's trying to do. He's not trying to hurt you. But from his perspective, he's simply making the best choice for him and his love life. Even if you felt like he was an awesome catch, that doesn't mean that he notices how great you two were together. Of course, that doesn't diminish your value, so you got to be willing to let these guys go. Reason number two, he doesn't have good communication skills. Look, if a guy simply doesn't want to pursue a connection for whatever reason, he may simply run out of ideas of how to break it off. He might have genuine feelings for you, but he's unable to communicate his reasons for needing to leave. So what does he do? He ghosts you. A lot of men simply don't have a good vocabulary for relationship skills. It's not something that guys work on as they grow up. So this ability atrophies. Reason number three, he's not very good at being awkward. I mean, there are many people out there, men and women, who simply don't like awkwardness. Who does like it? I mean, that's kind of weird, right? I'm not crazy about it. Are you? The problem is that most all social situations are a little bit awkward when you get right down to it, especially dating. And breakups are the big kahuna of awkward. So a guy will simply avoid contacting you if he isn't feeling anything really particularly special about your connection. His feeling of awkwardness overrides any consideration of your feelings. He's really only seeing things from his perspective, and that's all you really do when it comes right down to it. Reason number four, he got spooked. Some women give off signals that men pick up fairly early on. Even though men are typically typecast as not having good relationship skills, the truth is, most men actually have really good instincts when it comes to relationships. They might not be able to put them into words, but they definitely feel them. One thing a guy can feel really easily is if a woman is giving off signals of neediness or insecurity. He can pick right up on that. And the reason is, unfortunately, a guy will run into many women who want a relationship much more than they want the guy that they're actually dating. And meaning that she really just wants a relationship and to not be alone. It's not really anything specific to him, unfortunately. You may not even realize that you're giving off these signals. It's mostly unintentional. Here's a huge one. Reason number five is he doesn't think you're the one. Another thing that men have really good instincts about is whether or not you're going to make a good long-term partner for him from his point of view. Believe it or not, almost every single guy is looking at a woman in terms of whether or not she's going to make a great girlfriend or wife for him. You might make the mistake of thinking he's trying to avoid commitment, but a man only avoids commitment with the women that he feels are not right for him. And I think you'd agree that's totally valid. You probably should. And this is another place where men rely on their instincts. A man also relies on his past experience in previous relationships to tell him this stuff. Another reason is he just didn't feel safe with you. Believe it or not, safety is a big, important part of a relationship to a guy. Not his physical safety, really. It's more his emotional safety. While men are not physically abused as much as women are in relationships, emotional abuse is actually very common against men in relationships. Very often it exists as this low hum of unhappiness that he just deals with. Men feel coerced and controlled very frequently within relationships. Sometimes it's his fault for not stepping up and standing his ground, but very often it can be an unhealthy dynamic in communication. So be very careful about dismissing this particular reason as being a myth. The fact is that many men feel emotionally at a disadvantage in their relationships, and this feeling often leads to more feelings of anxiety and depression. And of course, reason number 9, he's got issues. You know those issues, right? Abandonment issues, emotional issues, attachment issues, commitment issues, vulnerability issues, availability issues. Yes, guys have every imaginable issue out there just the same way you do, but not every man has an issue. You can usually spot his problems and his behavior if you're watching very early on. The warning signs are almost always there. And you can also see his issues in how he handles other relationships, like his family relationships and his friendships. Always be on the lookout for his behavior and what it indicates about his relative emotional maturity. Reason number 11, that was all he was looking for. Yes, there are quite a few guys out there who just don't want a relationship. They really would like to have the physical intimacy, the sex, but they're just not interested in making a relationship out of it. The key here is to recognize these guys in advance and just avoid them if that's not what you want. Remember, it's not wrong for him to want this as long as he's upfront about his intentions at the very start. And you might notice that you reinterpret or misinterpret those intentions on purpose. Yes, I'm calling you out on this one because it happens pretty frequently, especially if you want or really want a committed relationship. And remember that if you were particularly easy, in other words, if you had sex on the first or the second date, you played right along with what he was looking for. Make sure you're sending the right message with your own behavior. If you disregard your own needs to entrap a man or get him into a relationship, you're going to find that you're going to get this kind of result where he just ghosts you. Another reason is he thinks you're crazy. Sorry, I have to throw this one in the ring. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're probably not that crazy, or, well, maybe you're a little nuts like most of us are. However, many guys ghost a woman they've been dating when the opportunity comes just to break it off. If he feels like there might be emotional repercussions of the crazy variety, you know, right? He'll just simply ghost you to avoid anything crazy happening in his life, like stalking or other unstable behavior, or just dealing with it, really. Sometimes guys label you as crazy when you're not, just to have an excuse for leaving a relationship. I can attest, yes, I've done this in the past to some women, and it's not cool. It is actually easier to blame the other person than it is to blame ourselves, isn't it? Reason number 14, too much too soon. Guys are very easily overwhelmed at the start of a relationship. You have to be careful how much emotion you're communicating to him. No matter how much of a magical connection you feel like you have, you've got to keep that to yourself. He may not realize it yet. He may not even see it at all. And even if you have the most intuitive, empathic woman on the planet, and that might be you, that doesn't mean he's going to believe you that you're both destined to be just because you saw it. Let's face it, the stereotype of women who come on too strong to get a commitment is well known. It's a stereotype, and it's almost a cartoonish one. But stereotypes exist because they're partly true. And if we're being perfectly honest here, stereotypes are frequently true. So do your best to contain your excitement for the new relationship. Don't become unhealthily attached too quickly. Give the relationship a chance to bloom and blossom at its own pace. In other words, you really can't go too slow from the man's point of view. If he wants things and you're putting up a little bit of resistance, that's good. That's healthy. I'll give you a little secret tip here. What you consider slow is probably just right for him. Another reason he may ghost you is because he felt misled or lied to. Many times in a relationship, a guy feels like he's discovering things that weren't really talked about or communicated very clearly in advance. He might feel a little misled about the person you presented to him. We all try and put on our best appearances to win over somebody, right? Especially if we think they're a catch. But you have to be as honest as you can about who you are and what it is you want. Those two things are critical. Look, slowly revealing yourself is not a lie or dishonest. It's called prudence. Think about the last person who unloaded their entire life history on you in the span of a day or even in a couple of hours, and remember how turned off you felt by that. Yeah. Reason number 16, he doesn't think you share the same vision of the future. Many men are already thinking about the future they have in mind. They may want kids, they may not want kids. He may be ambitious or you may not be ambitious. He thinks, though, that if you do not share that same path or destiny, he'll just simply retreat or disappear on you. He'll ghost you. He doesn't want to get into a big philosophical discussion about it. He just senses you're not on the same path. And you know what? Maybe he's right. You might not want to see it that way, but it might actually be true. And finally, he might be playing the field. In today's dating market, all you have to do is swipe your little finger across your phone screen to meet somebody new. That lowers the bar quite a bit. If a guy wants to play the field, it's never been easier for him to do that. All he's got to do is jump right back on a dating app. This is why it pays to meet men through as many different methods as you can. You can meet people online or through apps, yeah, sure, but just recognize the easier the method to meet him, sometimes the less devoted or interested in a long-term relationship he's going to be. I'll give you a quick bonus reason here. He thinks you're a BTN. A BTN is a better than nothing. Trust me, I know how awful that sounds, but we've all hung out in a relationship at one time or another that we weren't really into simply because we were waiting on something better to come along. Maybe the relationship was a little boring. Maybe it wasn't all that great for chemistry. Maybe it wasn't all that great in bed, but until he finds an upgrade, you'll do. Yes, it really sucks to have somebody do this to you and not tell you the truth, but keep in mind that sometimes he might not even been aware of it until he found his better option. So let's not pretend that guys are the only ones to do this, okay? I've been dumped plenty of times by women who are just keeping me around for a little boy toy. Finally, of course, there's your reason. What's your reason? Well, if he ghosts you, he must be a narcissistic, selfish jerk who just doesn't care if he hurts people. Now, I'm betting that's the reason you may have thought most of the time. Thankfully, it's rarely ever true. I know, but sometimes it is, but not nearly as often as you might think. In the heat of the moment, when you're dealing with the disappointment of this guy who ghosted you, you're probably going to feel like he must be some heartless, self-centered jerk. Who could blame you? There's tons of women's magazines out there that'll say the same thing. I'm sure your girlfriends do too. But realize that most people, 99.99%, do not intentionally try to hurt other people, not even by omission of action. We don't do that. If people were really like that, the world would be a far worse place than it already is. Beware of this knee-jerk reaction to just push your anger. And really, why are you so angry? Onto him, right? You're pushing your anger onto him and making him a villain. We're all just trying to make our way through this world as best we can. Some of us are doing it better than others, but you get it, right? Now, if you want to stay in this game long enough to find the man of your dreams, you've got to avoid being pulled down into the dark, unhappy outlook of other people. And you might just need to find out, what is it that's blocking you? What is your particular roadblock right now to your relationship or the relationship you want to have? Is he pulling away? Is your communication cruddy? Do you know what you need to even fix the relationship you're in? Or do you know how to get the guy you really want? Well, guess what? I've got a great way for you to find out right now. Just go take my latest relationship quiz. It's called the Relationship Roadblock Quiz. For the last 18 years, I've been helping, yes, 18 years. I know, it's kind of crazy. I just looked at that the other day. The last 18 years, they'll be 19 next year, I've been helping women catch the man they want and help him fall in love with her. What I've discovered is that one of the biggest questions women have is, why is he pulling away? How do I keep him interested? Why is he losing this interest in me? Well, guess what? In this short quiz, I can tell you exactly what to do and where to go from here. Going over to the link you see below me here, it is datingfire.com/Help Me Carlos. It's also a link down below in the description. Just click that and go on over. datingfire.com/Help Me Carlos. Click the link and go on over and check it out. It's a short quiz. It's a few questions and I can tell you exactly what's going on in your relationship and why you're feeling so roadblocked. If you've ever felt like God, I can't seem to get past this particular stage in my relationships with guys. I can't make it past that 4 to 6 week mark. I can't make it past the 4 to 6 dates with him. Whatever the case may be, you've got to find out what's going on, because I'll tell you right now, your girlfriends probably don't know, because it's happening to them too. Take the quiz and find out. Go on over to datingfire.com/helpmecarlos. And of course, be sure to stick around. I got one more. Don't run yet. I got one more great tip on why guys ghost you before the end of the video. So stick around to the end. And of course, before you leave, make sure you do the big 3. Number 1, like and subscribe. These are awesome videos. If you're here right now, you must love them. Number 2, make sure you turn on the notifications so you know when the next one comes out next week. And number 3, make sure you leave me any questions or comments or whatever in the comments section below. I love to read your questions. Hey, this is Carlos Cavallo from datingfire.com. As always, live and love with passion. And another big reason why guys ghost women is he just sucks at communication. Every so often you're going to start dating a guy who is really a terrible communicator. It might even happen to be that you really like to text him, and he hates texting with a passion. There's actually a lot more guys like this than you know. In this situation, it might seem like he's ghosting you when he's actually really not ghosting you, okay? When he disappears from your life, it could simply be a case of incompatible communication channels. Hey, which is why you got to find out what's going on in your relationship. Going over to datingfire.com/helpmecarlos.